We grow up in a world that teaches us to look outward. From the beginning, we're taught that we need permission, that our dreams only matter when someone else believes in them, that our choices are only valid when others approve. We're told we need to be surrounded, supported, validated, as if being alone means something's wrong with us. Solitude is confused with sadness. Silence is mistaken for weakness. And somehow, along the way, we start believing that without constant connection, we're not complete. But what if everything they taught us about walking alone is backwards? What if being alone isn't the weakness, but the awakening? What if the very moment you stop seeking someone else's approval, the moment you stop waiting for the world to say go, is the moment you finally become who you were meant to be? There's something powerful, something sacred, about the silence of standing on your own 2 feet, with no one clapping, no one watching, no one handing you the blueprint. Just you, your vision, and the courage to take that first step. That's not loneliness, that's freedom. History remembers many warriors. But the strongest ones, the most unshakable, didn't find their power on the battlefield, they found it in solitude. They found it when they were stripped of applause, stripped of guidance, when there was no one left to follow but themselves. Marcus Aurelius was one of those people. He ruled the Roman Empire, a man of power, of influence, of legacy. And yet, in the privacy of his own journal, not meant for anyone else's eyes, he wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." Imagine that. A man with access to anything and everything still realized that the real treasure was inside, not outside. Not in possessions. Not in approval. But in his own way of thinking. How often do we forget that? How often do we chase things, people, status, thinking that if, but the truth is, every time you've broken through, every time you've grown, every time you've truly changed your life, it wasn't because someone else showed up for you. It was because you showed up for yourself. Think back. The most defining moments in your life, the ones that really mattered, didn't come when the crowd was watching. They came in the quiet. When you faced your fear. When you decided to keep going when no one told you to. When you got tired of shrinking, tired of pleasing, tired of waiting, and instead, you rose. That's not weakness. That's not isolation. That's power. The Stoic Warrior doesn't walk alone because they hate people. They walk alone because they've learned something that most people never do, that true connection begins only after you've connected with yourself. You can't build something real with others until you've built something solid within. And you can't pour love out into the world when your own cup is empty. So this isn't about becoming hard. It's not about shutting the world out. It's about becoming so deeply rooted in who you are that no storm, no silence, no setback can shake you. It's about knowing that even if no one understands your path, you'll keep walking it because it wasn't made for them. It was made for you. When you master the art of walking alone, you begin to move differently. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself. You stop needing to be understood. You no longer live to impress, you live to express. You live with clarity. With strength. With a quiet kind of confidence that doesn't need to be seen to exist. That's when real freedom begins. Because walking alone doesn't make you lonely, it makes you limitless. It frees you from the chains of other people's expectations. It frees you from the trap of constantly wondering if you're enough. It allows you to give love. To lead, to serve, not from a place of lack, but from a place of abundance. Because when you finally become whole within yourself, you stop trying to be completed by others. And sure, the path of the Stoic Warrior isn't easy. There will be days when the silence feels heavy. When doubt creeps in. When walking alone feels like too much. But it's in those very moments, those quiet battles, that the foundation of your strength is built. Because one day, you'll look around and realize something has shifted. You'll no longer crave the noise. You'll no longer fear the silence. Because the voice inside you, the one you used to ignore, has become louder than the voices around you. And that voice? That's the real you. The warrior. The one who rose not because someone believed in you, but because you believed in you. So if this message finds you at a crossroads, if you're tired of waiting for someone to walk beside you, tired of asking if your path is valid, tired of needing someone to say yes before you take the first step? Then this is your sign. Walk alone. Rise alone. Not because you're supposed to do life by yourself, but because you have to meet yourself before anyone else truly can. Because once you've found strength in your own silence, you become unstoppable in the noise. And if that resonates with you, leave your mark. Say it out loud. Type it. Claim it. I walk alone. I rise alone. And in doing so, I become free. Most people don't know how to be alone. Not really. They'll sit in an empty room, sure, but they're not alone, not in the way that matters. Their hands are glued to their phones, their ears filled with noise, their minds racing from one distraction to another. They say they're relaxing, unwinding, but really, they're running. Running from silence. Running from stillness. Running from themselves. And I get it. Because silence is honest. Stillness is honest. It doesn't let you hide behind the roles you play or the masks you wear. It doesn't care about your titles or your reputation or what you posted last night. When the world gets quiet, and it's just you and your thoughts, there's nowhere left to run. And that's why most people avoid it. Because they're terrified of meeting the person underneath the noise. But there's something the world never taught us, something powerful, something sacred. Solitude is not punishment. It's not a sign that you've failed or that something is missing. Solitude, when embraced fully, becomes the place where everything real is born. The quiet is not your enemy. The quiet is your mirror. It's the only place where you can truly see yourself. That's what the world gets wrong. We're raised to believe that connection defines us, that being surrounded makes us safe. But the truth is, if you haven't learned how to be alone, really alone, then you've never met the core of who you are. And if you haven't met yourself, how can anyone else truly know you? I think of Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who was forced into exile, stripped of his status, cut off from the power and comfort he once knew. And what did he do? He didn't fall apart. He didn't beg for the world to come back to him. He sat in that stillness. He leaned into that silence. And in it, he found wisdom so deep, we're still quoting him thousands of years later. Every new beginning, he wrote, comes from some other beginning's end. He understood that endings, isolation, silence, these weren't losses. They were doorways. And I'll tell you something that might sound strange, but it's true, some of the strongest people you'll ever meet became that way not because they were surrounded by support, but because they learned how to stand alone. Not in bitterness. Not in pride. But in clarity. Because when you're truly alone, when no one's watching, when there's no need to perform, that's when the masks fall away. That's when you finally hear the thoughts you've buried, the truths you've ignored, the dreams you've silenced to make others comfortable. It's raw. It's uncomfortable. But it's real. And that's where the foundation gets built. That's where the Stoic Warrior is forged, in solitude. Not the kind that leaves you empty, but the kind that leaves you full of yourself. Not ego, essence. The real you. The you that isn't afraid to be still. The you that doesn't need noise to feel alive. The you that finds peace in your own presence. Start there. Just 5 minutes in the morning. No distractions. No goal. Just you, sitting with yourself. Don't try to fix anything. Don't try to feel anything. Just listen. Over time, stretch it. Walk in silence. Eat without a screen. Take a trip by yourself, just to remember what your own thoughts sound like. You'll start to see that solitude isn't a void, it's a vessel. It holds clarity. It holds wisdom. It holds the version of you that's been waiting to be heard. And once you've met that version of yourself, once you've learned how to walk alone, something else changes too. You stop caring so much about what other people think. You begin to realize how much of your life has been shaped by opinions that were never truly yours. How many times you held your tongue because you were afraid of being judged? How often you said yes when you meant no? How many dreams you delayed because someone, maybe a friend, maybe a stranger online, might not understand. It's subtle at first. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. You start to notice how deeply we're trained to seek approval. We post and wait for likes. We speak and watch for reactions. We succeed and then wonder if it was enough to impress someone else. We don't even realize we're doing it. It becomes automatic. And slowly, without meaning to, we trade our authenticity for acceptance. But here's the truth, and it's a hard one: you cannot live a free life if you're still a prisoner to other people's opinions. And it's not just about critics or trolls. Sometimes, the most dangerous opinions are the quiet ones, the ones from people we love, the ones we never question. The parent who disapproves. The friend who laughs at your idea. The community that doesn't understand your path. They don't always mean harm, but their expectations can wrap around you like invisible chains. And if you're not careful, you'll carry those chains for the rest of your life. But the Stoic Warrior lets them go. Not in anger. Not in arrogance. But in truth. Because once you've sat in silence long enough, once you've listened to your own voice without the world's commentary, you begin to realize the only opinion that truly matters is the one you hold of yourself. I think of Epictetus, another great Stoic, who was born a slave and went on to become one of the most influential thinkers in history. He taught that we don't suffer from events, we suffer from our judgments about those events. In other words, what someone says about you. It's meaningless unless you choose to believe it. Most of the time, people's opinions aren't really about you anyway. They're about themselves, their fears, their insecurities, their unhealed wounds. The person who mocks your dream? They probably gave up on theirs. The person who criticizes your choices? They might be too afraid to make their own people project. They always have. And if you carry their projections, you will lose yourself under the weight of their expectations. But once you've faced yourself in silence, once you've found your inner anchor, their voices no longer shake you. You develop something I call opinion immunity. It doesn't mean you ignore wise advice. It means you know how to filter it. You know the difference between feedback and noise. You listen to what's useful and let go of the rest. And that changes everything. Because suddenly, you're not living to be liked. You're living to be true. And that kind of life? That's rare. That's powerful. That's the path of the Stoic Warrior. Because once you've walked alone, once you've stopped chasing approval, once you've met the real you in the stillness, you don't need the world to validate your path. You become the path. There comes a moment, if you're really paying attention to your life, when you start to notice something strange. You realize that most of the noise surrounding you, people's comments, judgments, opinions, isn't actually about you. It's about them. Their fears. Their limitations. Their discomfort with the fact that you're doing something different, something free. And in that moment, you also realize something else: not every opinion is worth your time. Some feedback is valuable, it comes from people who care about you deeply and want to see you grow. You can feel the difference. It's thoughtful, honest, maybe even a little hard to hear, but it's rooted in love. That kind of feedback is rare. And when you get it, you hold on to it. You let it stretch you, refine you. You listen. But then there's the other kind, the kind most of us deal with daily. The sideways glances. The passive-aggressive comments. The so-called advice that really isn't advice at all, it's just someone else's fear disguised as concern. It's the friend who questions your decision, not because they understand your vision, but because they can't imagine taking that kind of risk themselves. It's the family member who disapproves, not because they've thought it through, but because they're projecting an old version of the world onto your new path. And for some reason, those voices always seem to echo the loudest. We obsess over them. We replay conversations in our minds. We second-guess ourselves. We shrink our dreams just a little. Smile a little less honestly. Move a little more carefully. And all because someone else couldn't see what we saw. But here's the truth: when someone's disapproval really sticks with you, ask yourself, are they living a life you admire? Are they showing up with integrity, courage, joy? Are they building something meaningful, something that makes you want to lean in and learn? Because if the answer is no, then why are you carrying the weight of their opinion? Too often, we let people who are not even brave enough to walk their own path talk us out of ours. That's the danger of living for approval. It's a race you can never win. You could please 99 people, and that one person who doesn't clap? That's the one who keeps you up at night. You could reach every milestone society celebrates: status, money, success, and someone, somewhere, will still say, that's not enough. And if you let those voices steer your choices, you'll end up with a life that looks good from the outside, but feels like a lie on the inside. That's why, at the end of the day, the only voice that truly matters is your own. When the world is quiet. When no one's watching. When you stand in front of the mirror and ask yourself, did I live honestly today? Did I speak truthfully? Did I follow what felt right, even if it made others uncomfortable? That's the voice you have to answer to. But here's the thing, building that kind of self-trust isn't a one-time decision. It's something you practice every single day. It happens in small, almost invisible moments. Like when you're about to wear something bold and beautiful that makes you feel alive, but you hesitate, wondering what people will think. That's your moment. Wear it anyway. Or when you're holding back from sharing an idea that lights you up, because you're afraid of being judged. That's your moment. Say it anyway. Or when you're drawn to something, a hobby, a path, a dream, that no one else seems to understand. That's your moment. Go after it anyway. Each time you choose authenticity over approval, you grow stronger. You build your integrity muscle. You start remembering who you are. Not the version the world has accepted, but the one that existed before anyone had a chance to tell you who to be. And when you walk far enough down that road, something even more powerful begins to grow inside you: real self-reliance. Now, this is important because we live in a world that often confuses independence with isolation. As if standing on your own must mean cutting others off. As if needing less means caring less. But that's a misunderstanding. Self-reliance isn't about pushing people away. It's about not needing them to carry you. It's about knowing how to hold your own center when everything else is spinning. About being able to say, even if no one gets it, I'll still keep going. Even if I fall, I know how to get back up. I'm not waiting to be saved. I already saved myself. And it's not selfish, it's the opposite. Because when you're truly self-reliant, you're finally able to show up for others without losing yourself in the process. You're not giving from lack, you're giving from overflow. You're not looking to others to make you whole, you're meeting them from a place of wholeness. You can love more freely. Serve more deeply. Lead more wisely. It's like the safety rule they repeat before every flight: put on your own oxygen mask first. Because if you run out of air trying to save everyone else, you're no help to anyone. But if you're strong, steady, breathing, you become the one people can count on. That's what self-reliance really is. Not coldness. Not ego. Stability. A quiet kind of strength. The kind that doesn't beg. The kind that doesn't prove. The kind that doesn't break every time someone else pulls away. It's a decision. Over and over again. To take responsibility for your own emotions. Your own choices. Your own life. You can still ask for help. Of course you can. But when you do, you're not asking from desperation. Fearing their absence. You stop chasing people who don't see you. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't want to understand. You stop diluting your truth to make it easier for others to swallow. Instead, you stand. Fully. Quietly. Unapologetically. Not because you've stopped loving people, but because you've finally started loving yourself. And when that happens, you don't become lonely. You become whole. Many people go through life searching for someone to complete them. They believe that happiness and success come from having others approve of their choices, or holding their hand when things get tough. But what if true strength comes from learning to stand alone? What if being comfortable with solitude is actually the secret to freedom? Imagine a person who's never learned to enjoy their own company. When faced with silence, they panic. They reach for their phone, scroll endlessly, fill the quiet with noise, anything to avoid facing themselves. This is the reality for most. But in that discomfort, in those quiet moments when no distractions are around, lies something precious. A philosopher named Seneca once said that every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. His own solitude was not loneliness, but a fertile ground for wisdom to grow. When you truly sit alone with yourself, the outside world fades away, no opinions, no expectations, no pretending. What's left is your raw, true self beneath all the masks. For many, because their identity is wrapped up in what others think of them. But for the wise warrior, this is liberation. Think back to the last time you spent even 10 minutes completely alone with your thoughts. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you. If that feels unbearable, you're not alone. Most people are afraid of their own minds. But your mind is your most powerful tool, and like any tool, it needs care and training. In solitude, you learn who you truly are, what you value, what you believe, what your deepest truths are. The warrior treats solitude like training for a marathon, an essential part of daily life. It's protected fiercely because everything else, their relationships, work, impact, flows from the strength and clarity built in those quiet moments. Start small, 5 minutes in the morning just sitting with yourself, noticing thoughts without judgment. Slowly, you'll grow comfortable with your own presence, take walks without distractions, eat meals in silence, even travel alone. You begin to realize solitude isn't empty, it's full of possibility. It's where ideas are born, where courage grows, where you remember who you were before the world told you who to be. But standing alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means you choose connection not because you're desperate, but because you're whole. You seek others not to fill gaps inside, but to share your journey as equals. This kind of relationship is built on love and growth, not neediness or codependency. Along the way, you'll notice something important: what others think of you no longer controls you. People's opinions are just that, opinions. Most are rooted in their own fears, regrets, or insecurities. When criticism stings, ask yourself, is this person living the life I admire? Are they speaking from wisdom or from their own pain? Usually, you'll find their judgment isn't about you at all, it's about them. Many spend their whole lives trying to please everyone, but it's a losing battle. You could please 99 people, and that one disapproval still weighs heavily. The only opinion that truly matters is your own. How you see yourself when no one is watching. This isn't arrogance, it's a daily practice of choosing what aligns with your values over the fear of judgment. Maybe today you wear something you love, even if it's different. Or share an unpopular idea that matters to you. Each choice builds your freedom muscle. The next step on this journey is learning to rely on yourself, not out of selfishness, but because it's the foundation of true strength. Society confuses independence with isolation, but standing strong on your own means you can truly support others. You can't give what you don't have. If you constantly need others to fix your problems or validate you, your power rests in their hands, and that makes you vulnerable. Think about airplane safety instructions, they always tell you to put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others. This isn't selfish, it's smart. If you pass out trying to save someone else first, you both suffer. Being self-reliant means you develop emotional strength, practical skills, and the mental resilience to face challenges alone when you must. It means processing your feelings, solving problems, and maintaining peace within yourself. It doesn't mean never asking for help, but asking from strength, not desperation. When you rely on yourself first, your relationships change. You don't seek someone to complete you, but someone to complement the whole person you already are. This leads to healthier, more authentic connections. Start by learning skills that help you take care of your life: cooking, managing money, regulating your emotions, staying physically healthy, and feeding your curiosity. Then dive deeper. Build your own understanding of meaning and purpose. Don't just adopt others' beliefs, read ancient wisdom, meditate, and explore what life truly means to you. Spiritual self-reliance is owning your inner world. When you accept full responsibility for your life, no blaming others or bad luck, you gain full power over your path. Begin with one small step. Identify where you rely too much on others and choose independence there. It's not about needing no one, but about choosing connection from strength. As your independence grows, so does your relationship with failure. Most people run from failure, they hide, make excuses, or ignore it. But the warrior welcomes failure. They sit with it, alone, and ask the hardest question: what is this trying to teach me? Thomas Edison famously said after thousands of attempts to invent the light bulb, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work." This wasn't just optimism. It was deep wisdom. Failure is not the enemy of success, it's the raw material that builds it. But here's something many don't know: the real work of learning from failure happens alone. When you fail publicly, people may offer sympathy, advice, or criticism. But honest reflection, the kind that changes you, happens in silence. It's about stripping away ego, excuses, and distractions to look honestly at what you controlled, what you couldn't, and what lessons you must carry forward. This process isn't self-punishment, it's self-education. Marcus Aurelius, a great Stoic emperor, faced many personal and political setbacks but wrote that obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're the path forward. Every challenge is a lesson designed to make you stronger. Most avoid this because it's uncomfortable to admit mistakes and sit with pain. But the warrior knows comfort is the enemy of growth. They'd rather face temporary discomfort than repeat the same mistakes forever. The more willing you are to fail and learn alone, the less likely you are to fail in ways that matter. When you take the time to reflect, learn, and improve privately, you gain strength and clarity to face the world boldly. So start today. Take responsibility for your life. Build your independence. Face failure honestly. And when you connect with others, do it from a place of wholeness and strength, not fear. This is the path of the true warrior, not one who depends on others to survive, but one who stands strong alone and invites the world to walk beside them. Imagine walking through a dense forest during a storm. The wind howls, branches snap, and rain pours down, drenching everything. Most people would want to run for shelter, but what if you could feel the storm strengthening you with every step? Each gust pushing against you, each drop soaking your clothes, instead of breaking you, makes you tougher. This is what it means to become anti-fragile, growing stronger because of life's pressures, not in spite of them. Think about your own life. There are moments when things don't go as planned. Maybe you set out to finish a project but find yourself rushing at the last minute because you underestimated the time it would take. Or maybe you avoid difficult conversations until they explode into crises, or you sometimes let your feelings drive decisions, only to regret them later. These are patterns that quietly shape how you move through life, often without you noticing. Now, picture this: something goes wrong, and instead of looking for distractions or comfort right away, you stop. You set aside quiet time just for yourself to sit with what happened. You ask yourself, what parts of this were actually under my control? What did I assume that turned out wrong? What would I do differently next time? And how has this experience made me stronger? This is the practice of turning failure into your most powerful teacher. There's a famous story about Thomas Edison, who tried over 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. When people called his attempts failures, he said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work." This wasn't just optimism. It was a mindset that saw failure as the foundation for success. But here's something few talk about: this kind of learning happens in solitude. When you fail publicly, you might get advice, sympathy, or criticism from others, but the real work, peeling back the layers of why things went wrong, happens alone. It's in those quiet, honest moments that you can drop your ego and excuses, and really look at what happened. You start asking tough questions. What could I have done differently? What was beyond my control? What can I learn from this to be better next time? This process isn't about punishing yourself, it's about teaching yourself. The great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius faced countless hardships, defeats in war, political betrayals, personal losses, but he wrote that obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're the path itself. Every failure is a lesson you need to master to climb higher. Most people avoid this because it's uncomfortable. It means admitting mistakes, facing weaknesses, and sitting with the pain of unmet expectations. But the true warrior knows that comfort often blocks growth. They'd rather feel the temporary sting of honest self-reflection than live with the permanent pain of repeating the same mistakes. The more willing you are to face failure quietly and learn from it, the less you'll fail in ways that truly matter. After doing this kind of reflection enough times, you'll begin to see patterns. Maybe you always rush at the last minute, avoid tough talks, or let emotions cloud your decisions. Spotting these patterns is the first step to changing them. Now, imagine building a fortress inside yourself. This isn't a fortress to shut others out but a strong place where storms of life can crash, but inside, you remain calm and unshaken. Ancient philosophers called this the inner citadel, a place no one can invade without your permission. Epictetus, one of the great teachers, said, "No one can hurt you without your permission." It's a powerful truth. People might say harsh words or bad things might happen, but whether these affect your inner peace is up to you. Life sends many impressions your way. Someone criticizes your work, you lose money, a relationship ends, or your health falters. These events happen outside your control. But your judgment, how you interpret and react to them, is within your power. Many people live without this fortress, letting every harsh word or setback steal their peace. Their moods swing wildly with what others think, their confidence fades with each failure, and their happiness depends on outside things. But the Stoic Warrior builds layers of protection. The first layer is perspective. When insulted or challenged, perspective helps you see the bigger picture. Someone's cruel words tell you more about their character than yours. A setback isn't the end, it's a moment that will pass like all things. The second layer is principles, your own set of values that guide your choices no matter what. These aren't rules imposed by others but beliefs you've deeply thought through. When you know what you stand for, no one can make you doubt yourself. At the heart of this fortress lies your identity, not your job, possessions, feelings, or thoughts, but the awareness that observes all these things. This core self can't be touched or shaken by outside events because it exists beyond them. Building this fortress is daily work. Each time you choose how to respond rather than react, you strengthen its walls. Every time you act according to your values despite pressure, the foundation deepens. Each moment you find calm amid chaos, your sanctuary grows. But this fortress isn't a prison. It has windows, ways to connect with others and share your strength, but always on your terms. The Stoic Warrior isn't isolated but sovereign, engaging fully with life while protecting their inner freedom. What's amazing is that the stronger your fortress, the more you can give. When you aren't busy defending yourself, you have the energy to help others build their own strength. When you're not threatened by others' success, you can genuinely celebrate it. When you don't seek approval, you can speak honestly and supportively. So, start today. Think about one part of your life where outside things control your emotions. Maybe your mood depends on others' opinions, or your self-worth on achievements. Practice holding on to your peace there, no matter what happens. Your peace belongs to you. No one can take it unless you let them. Life will inevitably bring storms, times when everything feels uncertain, difficult, and overwhelming. The real question isn't whether you will face these challenges, but whether you have built an inner strength strong enough to withstand them. This strength, like a fortress, holds your values, your peace, and your ability to keep going even when the world seems against you. It's not about shutting others out but about creating a protected space inside where your true self can live safely and freely. One of the toughest lessons on this path is learning to be okay with disappointing others in order to stay true to who you really are. This doesn't mean being rude or uncaring. It means accepting a difficult truth: trying to please everyone is impossible, and in trying, you often lose your own identity. Aristotle once said, "To avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing." But choosing silence and invisibility means losing your chance to live a real, meaningful life. The person who walks the path of inner strength understands that living authentically will sometimes upset people. Your choices might clash with what others expect, your values may not align with theirs, and your boundaries may cause disappointment. But they have made peace with this because the alternative, a life spent pretending, is far worse. When you fake who you are to keep others happy, no one benefits, least of all you. Many people fear disappointing others because they confuse being liked with being respected, or being agreeable with being valuable. They say yes when they want to say no, they chase goals that aren't theirs, and they stay in draining relationships just to avoid upsetting someone. But real respect comes from honesty and clear boundaries, not from constant approval. When you choose to live your truth, it's normal for some people to feel disappointed. That's a sign you are on the right path. Setting healthy boundaries means sometimes saying no to those who expect you to always be available or to do what they want. Those who take advantage of your kindness will be disappointed, and that disappointment is a signal that you are protecting your energy and your life. This willingness to disappoint others is a conscious choice, what some call strategic disappointment. It means knowing that you cannot be everything for everyone, and deciding where your time, energy, and heart will go. Imagine a young person whose parent pushes them toward a career they don't want. They have to choose: disappoint their parent by following their own dreams, or disappoint themselves by living someone else's life. Choosing themselves might hurt their parents' expectations, but it is the only way to live authentically. In the end, living a false life disappoints everyone. This courage to disappoint isn't just for big life decisions, it shows up in everyday moments. It's saying no to social events when you need quiet time. It's refusing to join gossip even if it might make you popular. It's standing firm in your values even if others think you're being too strict or difficult. Every time you choose your truth over ease, you strengthen your courage. But courage comes with responsibility. It doesn't give you permission to hurt others carelessly. The strong person communicates their boundaries kindly and clearly. They understand the difference between disappointing someone's expectations and disrespecting them as a person. They recognize that some battles aren't worth fighting and choose carefully when to stand firm and when to bend. And here's the most profound truth: those who truly love you want the real you, even if that means they're sometimes disappointed. They would rather see your authentic self, with all its flaws and strengths, than a false version created just to keep them happy. Start practicing this courage in small ways. Next time someone asks you to do something that doesn't align with your values or priorities, try saying no gently but firmly. You might be surprised, the world doesn't end, and your relationships may grow deeper and more honest. Through these moments, you build your freedom and create space for others to be authentic too. In learning to disappoint others with kindness, you become the person who lives freely, with integrity and peace, no matter what storms come your way. Life isn't about avoiding storms. Everyone faces challenges, setbacks, and moments that shake them to their core. What truly shapes you is whether you've built a strong inner fortress, something solid enough to hold you steady through the worst storms. This fortress isn't made of stone or metal, but of your values, your peace of mind, and your ability to stay true to yourself no matter what happens around you. One of the hardest lessons in building this fortress is learning that sometimes you have to disappoint others. It's a scary thought because from a young age we're taught to please those around us, to be liked and accepted. But trying to make everyone happy all the time isn't just impossible, it's a betrayal of your true self. Imagine a young person being pushed into a career they don't want just to satisfy their family's expectations. At first, they might avoid conflict, but over time, they feel the weight of living a life that isn't theirs. The courage to say no, to disappoint people in order to stay true to yourself, is one of the greatest acts of strength. It's a clear sign that you are choosing your own path rather than walking someone else's. Meanwhile, the world is obsessed with winning over others, winning at work, winning in social status. But the most important victory isn't over other people, it's the victory over yourself. Mastering your own mind, your emotions, and your impulses is the greatest triumph you can achieve because it's something no one can ever take away from you. It's about learning to be the director of your inner world instead of a slave to your feelings. When someone cuts you off in traffic or says something hurtful, you have a choice: react with anger or respond with calm. When faced with criticism, you can lash out or pause and listen for what's useful. These moments, small as they seem, are where your true strength is built. Self-mastery doesn't mean denying your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It means understanding them deeply enough to choose how you respond rather than being controlled by them. It means wanting things without letting desire control you and pursuing your goals without losing your peace if things don't go perfectly. It's about having a steady balance that allows you to move forward with calm and clarity. All the lessons you've learned, spending time alone to understand yourself, standing strong without needing approval from others, learning from your mistakes, protecting your inner peace, and having the courage to disappoint, come together in this one truth: the greatest victory is mastering yourself. When you achieve this, you may walk your path alone, but you are never lonely. You rise alone, but not selfishly, because your strength allows you to lift others. You win alone, but not without caring deeply, because your victory is rooted in character and can never be taken away. Start today by noticing when you react automatically to situations. Practice pausing, breathe, and choose a better response. Remind yourself, I am the master of my mind, my emotions, and my destiny. The path of self-mastery isn't easy, but it's the only way to find true freedom in a world that pushes dependence. It's the way to live authentically in a culture that demands conformity. Remember, walking alone means you're free. Rising alone means you're strong enough to help others. Winning alone means your victory is unshakable. The world needs more people who've done this inner work, who stand firmly in their truth without asking for permission, who love without clinging, and who serve without expecting anything in return. It needs more warriors like this. Your journey starts now. Take the first step, own your strength, and know that you are not just surviving the storms, you are becoming unstoppable.